Loss. It's something every single person and every single NFL team has to deal with, and with San Francisco, that hit them more so this offseason than years past. Not only did they lose their offensive chess piece in Deebo Samuel on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, they lost two players that embody what it means to be a San Francisco 49er in Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. But like a lot of great teams, it's not like San Francisco didn't have a plan to replace them. Sure, they signed a bunch of safeties this offseason and even signed a linebacker, but I also think they already have a player on the roster to replace someone like Talanoa Hufanga in Ji'Ayir Brown. Coming out of Penn State, he came in at 5'11", weighing 203 pounds, and at the combine, he ran his 40-yard dash in 4.65 seconds, which was good enough for San Francisco to select him in the 2023 NFL Draft in the 3rd round. While many didn't expect Brown to start as a rookie, after Talanoa Hufanga went down with a torn ACL, he started in 7 games, registering 56 tackles, 5 passes defensed, and 3 interceptions. So heading into year 2, many expected a breakout year. But with the return of Talanoa Hufanga and with the change of coaching moving from Steve Wilks to Nick Sorensen, he had somewhat of a sophomore slump, starting in just 13 games while registering 72 tackles, 5 passes defensed, and 1 interception. Well, when you dive into his film, you see that it's littered with plays of him just being a phenomenal player. The difference between Steve Wilks and Nick Sorensen, though, I think can't be understated, and Brown headed into year 3 has one of the best coaches across the entire league in Robert Saleh. So in this video, I want to dive into Ji'Ayir Brown's film and why I believe he's the perfect fit for Robert Saleh's defense and why I believe Saleh will be able to coach up the weaknesses he showed last year. Initially starting out, we're going to be looking at Brown in his pass coverage, specifically his man pass coverage, because Robert Saleh loves to use his safeties in this type of role, especially on 3rd down. And luckily for Brown, this is something he's really excelled at ever since his Penn State days, and a big reason why is because of how active he is throughout the rep. Here going against the Rams, for instance, Brown does an excellent job of initiating contact within the first 5 yards, and even with this tight end using almost like a push-off motion against him, he's able to quickly identify this ball coming towards him, targets it in the air, and then breaks it up. Brown's ability to routinely identify where the ball is placed and then targeting it is something I love about his game, and this carries over from his college days as I was mentioning. To further highlight this point, here going against the Cardinals, Brown is manned up against Trey McBride, and initially I love how he pulls out a double-handed press technique to really disrupt his route. And what really stands out here is how he's able to keep his eyes on Kyler Murray this entire time. And when McBride finally does break off his route, Brown knows the ball is coming, so he targets it in the air and once again gets that PBU on this play. What really stands out here to me about Brown is him timing this up so he doesn't draw a PI. He's arriving as soon as the ball does, and headed into year 3, I only expect these instincts to continue to improve. Another reason I'm really excited for Robert Saleh's defense with Brown out there is his ability to effectively navigate bunch formations. Here going against the Buccaneers, for instance, they're almost trying to pick Brown with this wide receiver breaking hard across the middle. But Brown does a good job of disrupting his route, identifies his tight end breaking out hard, so he's able to shed this wide receiver, get to the tight end, and then just stays in his hip pocket this entire time, and his ball skills at the end of this play take over. And while he's not the fastest safety, it is impressive how Brown can line up on some fast wide receivers, like here he's manned up on Xavier Worthy, and he shuts him down on this play. He does a great job of not falling for any of his moves, and then he's jumping this ball, timing it up almost perfectly with Patrick Mahomes' throw. If it was a little bit more accurate, probably would have been heading the other direction. But it's not just his man coverage where Brown really impresses me. I think he does a great job in zone coverage of reading the quarterback's eyes and then triggering. Here, for instance, going against the Patriots, he's able to quickly identify this running back screen, and importantly, he believes in his eyes, shoots it without hesitation, and causes his back to lose 2 yards on this play. In a similar way here, Brown is in zone coverage, really responsible for reading the quarterback's eyes as a lone safety. All the other defensive backs on this play are playing man coverage. But because Brown identifies Dak Prescott targeting the wide receiver towards the bottom of the screen, he's able to close on this ball, and he's always coming downhill attacking the ball. which is why he gets the interception here. In a similar way here, going against Jordan Love and the Packers, he's reading Jordan Love's eyes, breaks outside of his zone actually, and nearly grabs another interception on this play. The final strength I want to highlight about Brown in coverage is the good closing burst he routinely shows off. Here going against the Dallas Cowboys for instance, he needs to get to this tight end almost instantly, but because of this closing burst, he is able to get there and makes an excellent tackle on this play. And against the run, Brown shows off a similar level of burst. Here playing a box safety role for instance, he's playing this almost like a linebacker. He takes his read step and actually takes away this running back's lane. So the back is attempting to bounce outside, but because of that closing burst I was highlighting on the previous play, Brown gets there and makes the open field tackle. Outside of this burst, Brown also showed an improvement in strength from his rookie year to his sophomore campaign. Here going against the Patriots for instance, he's able to effectively take on this tight end with only one arm, then sheds his block and makes the tackle on this play, actually causing the Patriots to lose 1 yard. Another thing you'll notice about Brown throughout the game is how his motor is always running hot. He'll be fighting throughout the play to get involved. Here he's on the opposite of the offensive line for instance, but still somehow gets the tackle on this play. And overall, when you're looking at him as a run defender, he brings a similar level of aggression as Malik Mustafa. He's determined and physical as a run supporter. He also does a great job of triggering routinely on the running back and isn't afraid to make contact with bigger bodied backs. With all these positives being noted though, Ji'Ayir Brown isn't a perfect player and has several areas he needs to continue to improve to dig himself out of a sophomore slump he had in year 2. Starting out initially, I think Ji'Ayir Brown is often a little bit too aggressive. His aggression is great, but he needs to do a better job of balancing his aggression so it's not used against him. And that's probably going to be one of the biggest challenges for Robert Saleh when coaching Brown this year. But if he's able to get that nice balance, I think Brown can end up being a great safety. When you look at how he played with Steve Wilks compared to a coach like Nick Sorensen for example, the differences are stark. And now with him having one of the better defensive coaches across the entire league in Robert Saleh, I expect him to continue to develop. When you watch plays like this for instance, it's not like Brown is just getting physically outmatched, he just needs some coaching points. Here for instance, get outside contain first before shooting inside as the safety. That way you don't give up a major run like he did here. The final thing Robert Saleh will need to address about Brown's game, and really San Francisco's defense as a whole from last year, is the amount of missed tackles they had. Here going against the Packers for instance, you can tell Brown's technique is just way off. He shoots his head down, so he isn't able to locate the ball carrier, so unsurprisingly, this back breaks his tackle and picks up a massive gain on this play. Overall, when I look at Brown as a player though, if he is able to address these key concerns I have about his game, heading into year 3, he could really have a Pro Bowl level season. Especially when you consider the fact for the first 2 years of his career, he's had coaches like Steve Wilks and Nick Sorensen, but now heading into year 3, he has Robert Saleh who has routinely been able to take advantage of a defensive back's versatility like Brown offers. But ultimately, these are just my thoughts on the safety most likely to start next to Malik Mustafa heading into this season, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below, and it would also mean a ton to me if you could like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.